Sports are poetic. The flow of the game, the movement of the athletes, the rise and fall of the ball, the flurry of action slowly building to a crescendo, ending in a way which blows your mind while still being something that deep down you saw coming. In my heart of hearts, I knew Rudy Gobert was going to be the one to do something crazy in the NBA's return. Gobert scored the first basket of the new season, and 48 minutes later, scored what would ultimately be the game-winning shot. Gobert was dominant on both ends of the court due to the Pelicans' lack of a true center, and shined like he never had corona. Truly a specimen of a player from France. But Rudy Gobert's play will ultimately be forgotten about when the topic of Zion Williamson is brought up. Williamson only played 15 minutes while scoring 13 points. Many will cry out that Alvin Gentry should have played him more down the stretch. Me, I applaud the decision to let Zion stay on the bench. In Michael Jordan's second season, the Bulls were on the verge of missing the playoffs. Stan Albeck, the head coach at the time, held Michael Jordan to a mere 15 minutes a game as he recovered from a foot injury. When you have a franchise-defining player like Zion Williamson or Michael Jordan, who might risk hurting themselves, you play it safe. Gentry will get flack in the media for his decision, but it's the right one to make. I applaud it.
I mean, when it comes to Zion Williamson, it, as a viewer, is frustrating to watch, especially when it felt like the Pelicans were the better team in the first half. They were ahead by 2 points at the end of the first and absolutely dominated the second quarter, where it felt like the Jazz couldn't buy a bucket. And even in the second half, when things got really messy, it felt like to me the Pelicans had more talent and were a better team. Brandon Ingram felt like the best player on the floor to me in the first half, aside from the very few minutes Zion played. And the Jazz, I believe, also showed some dysfunction that Isaiah and I felt they would face. They didn't seem like they got enough practice in, and they never truly gelled throughout the entirety of the game. When it comes to the presentation of the game, I didn't feel that much was lost. A lack of fans, it felt like the energy there. I enjoyed the crowd noise, but it was really awkward seeing Shaq and Charles Barkley completely cut out of shot when it went to the halftime break or whatever. Optically very poor. Please change that. Move everyone in about half a foot. It'll be more enjoyable to watch.
It's about sending the message, Tristan. I disagree with you somewhat. The Jazz, while they looked a little bit dysfunctional, both teams were turning the ball over far too often. And down the stretch, the team with more experience playing together and maybe better coaching, I'm unsure about that. Gentry is unproven still, ended up winning. I think the Jazz may rise a little bit in the playoffs. This performance over a talented team like New Orleans could mean the start of something great, but ultimately, no one cares about the Pelicans and the Jazz playing, because there is another game which happened last night. The Lakers tied the battle for LA 2-2 with a decisive 2-point victory last evening. And while Kawhi and Paul George both played well, the story of last night was Anthony Davis' dominant performance on both ends and LeBron's fourth quarter heroics. With under a minute to go, LeBron missed a mid-range shot badly. Then the Clippers failed to box him out. LeBron took the ball out of the air and put it in the basket. Then on the other end of the court, LeBron first locks up Kawhi Leonard, then switches to Paul George to finish off the game. All this leads me to one question though. If you're the Lakers, do you really feel good about last night's win? It took one of the best centers in the league performing out of his mind and a clutch performance from a top 5 player of all time to beat the Clippers by 2. All the while, the Clippers were missing 2 of their best players in Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. LeBron's performance last night was amazing at points, particularly that fourth quarter and down in the last minute of the game. But do you really think he can keep that up for a 7-game series? When these teams meet in the playoffs again, and they will meet again, it's going to be a war.
Well, I think if you're the Lakers, there are a lot of things to feel good about. Both teams didn't shoot particularly well, and the Lakers shot poorly from 3, 30.6%, still won. AD was playing out of his mind, and we found out LeBron can still play defense. In the fourth quarter, when guarding Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, the pair combined for 1 point, and on the last play of the game, LeBron put him in a locker. Kyle Kuzma played very well after a poor showing prior to the corona outbreak. That's also good to see. Dion Waiters had 11 points, the highest plus-minus out of any player on either team. Maybe he'll be able to supplement Avery Bradley's absence better than we originally expected. These are important takeaways for the Lakers as they look towards making a playoff run and a championship run.
While I appreciate the opinion that LeBron can play defense, it's pretty clear that he's either not trying, which is concerning in its own right, or not physically capable of playing on the defensive end at that level for an entire game. And when you have 2 more 18-point scorers join the mix in Lou Williams and Harrell, you are going to need to be more defensively active. If LeBron's not putting in enough effort, that's one thing. If he's not physically capable,
he
that's
was
another.
defensively
One of
active
those things
last
can be
night.
fixed.
especially in the fourth quarter.
The first 3 quarters, he was a borderline liability. Kawhi was dominating him. Fourth quarter, again, played well, but you can't play 1/4 of the game and expect to get high
when your
praise.
other star player is dominating the other team 16 from 17 at the line, and the other team can't do anything about it.
Is that what we call dominating? 16 of 17
Getting
free throws?
to the line 17 times is pretty good, Isaiah.
And then there's LeBron who missed 13 shots.
He didn't shoot well.
Out of his 9.
Everyone knows that.
He didn't shoot well.
But he did play well defensively.
He didn't play particularly well defensively, with the exception of the fourth quarter. And if I do really good on the back fourth of a test, but bomb the first 3/4 of it, I failed the test. And I'm not saying LeBron failed last night, because I think he played well, particularly in that fourth quarter. But you have to be concerned if you're a Lakers fan that LeBron either isn't putting in enough effort or isn't physically capable of playing that level of defense. And he needs to play that level of defense for the Lakers to be able to beat the Clippers when healthy.
Well, at the end of the day, I disagree with you. And one final thing I do want to touch on is Skip Bayless. I think Skip Bayless was shaking in his boots after seeing LeBron come up clutch. LeBron, again, played a decent game, didn't put up many points, but he facilitated, let AD take over early in the game, and when the game mattered, he scored the go-ahead bucket and absolutely locked up Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. GOAT things only in year 17. And now Skip Bayless is claiming it's the worst game-winning shot ever, which is ridiculous. If the Clippers won, he'd be saying that LeBron is trash, or he should just retire, or if it was Kawhi hitting the game-winning shot, he would be praising him. But because it's LeBron, he is such a hypocrite, and at the end of the day, I just don't get it.
Well, I don't spend that much time thinking about what other people have to say about sports. That's why I am the way I am. But you have to admit, though, LeBron James is not the best player on the Lakers anymore.
He's the GOAT, Isaiah.
He isn't, and besides passing, what does he do better than Anthony Davis right now?
Rebound, I don't know.
Exactly, that's the point.
Play in the fourth
Anthony
quarter.
Davis dominates
Anthony
LeBron
Davis isn't that good in the
statistically.
fourth quarter. He had 2 points in the fourth quarter last night. I think just off free throws.
What a statement. What a statement in a vacuum that is. Anthony Davis is not good in the fourth quarter off one game.
No, consistently.
But no, Anthony Davis is a
good in
better
the fourth
player
quarter.
at this point in his career than LeBron James is. And I'll give credit to AD. He's come a long way. He's definitely a top 5 player. But if we're being real and if we're being honest, LeBron is helping AD out more than AD is helping LeBron out, in the sense that Anthony Davis has become the Batman to LeBron James's Robin. And it's an interesting role because he may be one of the greatest sidekicks of all time. But despite all the hype, despite all the media attention, he is Anthony Davis's sidekick at this point. But ultimately, I want to end on this. This was a great victory for the Lakers, but I'd still be concerned. The Clippers are missing 2 players, and when those players come back, it's going to get spicy. This will be a very interesting 7-game series. Don't you agree?
I mean, the Lakers are going to win in 4, so.
Anyway, that has been our thoughts on the NBA's return to action. Let us know what you think down in the comments below.
And be sure to check out our other social media platforms at Thickman Inc. on Instagram and Twitter. We've been posting a lot more there. And subscribe if you enjoy our content. It'll help us out a lot. See you next time.